Hello, friends, and welcome back to another episode of the Performance Mindset Show. I'm your host, Amy Calandrino, commercial real estate advisor, investor, and author. Each week, I talk with inspiring leaders and entrepreneurs about the habits, decisions, and strategies that fuel growth and lasting success. So if you're ready to think bigger, build smarter, and strengthen your performance mindset, you're in the right place. So today I have with me Ken Ashley, who is a fellow CCIM and SIOR, an executive director at Cushman Wakefield, and one of the most accomplished tenant advisors in the country, with over 25 years helping companies align business strategy with smart real estate decisions. And he is consistently recognized as a top producer in Atlanta and nationally. And Ken is also the founder of CREi Summit. And it's a movement that brings together commercial real estate professionals, both online and in person. And we can chat a little bit more about that. So welcome to the show.
It's an honor to be here with you, my friend. Thanks for having me on.
And Ken, you've been a huge advocate for me. First of all, just encouraging my continued personal and professional growth. And then we are now colleagues as well. Yes. So it's super cool. And I'm really grateful for that. So I'm excited to talk about everything that you're building and how much impact you're having in the community.
Yes. And I just want to say welcome to Cushman Wakefield. We're thrilled to have you.
That's great. I'm making my managing principal very happy with my performance so far.
Indeed.
I really do love it, though. It's awesome. So for listeners who are new to you, because you've already been on the show, this is your second time on the show, how would you describe the lane you operate in commercial real estate?
Sure. So I work at what is called a tenant rep position. And so what that means is I represent people that use real estate to build their business. I help companies make excellent real estate decisions. I don't represent buildings, and we help our clients think deeply about why they're going to use the real estate and what's the maximum impact. For most companies that we represent, the second biggest cost after labor is real estate. And there's an issue if you make the wrong choice. You can have a CLM, a career limiting move, and we specialize in avoiding CLMs.
I hate career limiting move. You do not want to have that on your resume. What's energizing you most in your work and your community and your leadership? I know there's probably so many things.
Sure. Well, first of all, I'm motivated every morning, because we're brokers. I haven't had a paycheck in almost 30 years. I wake up unemployed every morning. And we're energized to make transactions occur. I tell people that we work for, it's your company, but it's my transaction. And my job is to get this transaction done in an orderly manner, but to create that sense of urgency. And what I'm excited about now is we're needed more than ever. There are 2 million more knowledge workers in the workforce since before COVID. And many companies made the difficult decision 2 years ago to reduce their office space, some cases by 60 or 70%. And we're fixing a lot of those mistakes now. And how we use office space is changing dramatically right now. So it's a great time to be an office tenant rep. There were predictions in 2020 in the middle of COVID that office buildings would go away. And I knew it wasn't right. I mean, we have not changed as a species since 2020. We do need to be together. And there is a powerful human need to interact physically. And I'll also share, I was speaking with a tech company, global head of real estate, a very large portfolio that they have. And I asked him about why they asked everybody to come back to the office. And he gave the kind of the normal answers, but he said something that really caught my attention that I've been thinking about a lot. He said the speed of business. And I said, tell me more. What do you mean? He said, well, if you and I are colleagues and we want to meet, we might look at our calendars and see 3.5 weeks out, there's a 15-minute slot. Or we could be walking to the break room to grab a cup of coffee and I could just say, hey, have you thought about this? Or can I get this approved? Bam, speed of business. When we're together, business is easier.
Yeah. I can tell you that, I've now been with Cushman almost a couple months, but like we had our office potluck and I'm sitting next to my managing principal, Wanda, and I say, hey, I have these couple things coming up and, really don't want to take these down on my own. And she's like, okay, I'd recommend this person for that and this person for that. And, I just go and obviously we need to have a bigger meeting, but, I have a brief conversation of this is what we need to cover. And then they tell me these are the steps. And it's nice for me, to be almost returning to the office myself after, going through a period in my business of going smaller. And then now being in an office with like 50 other people, I can tell you from my own personal experience that it's great. So yeah. And then, obviously too, especially if you're in an open air cubicle area, you're a lot more productive. So you can't really hide what you're doing in that open environment. So there's a lot more productivity. One thing is in an office, how much more office, what trends do you see happening for next year? Because you talked to me, offline that, return to office RTO is more of like in the past tense. Mm-hmm. And so that's, already been happening. But then what do you see for next year?
Well, I think you're correct. As a past tense statement, we have returned to the office. I was speaking not long ago with Carol Tomei, who's an amazing woman. She's the CEO of UPS. And she had a phrase I've been thinking about. She said, I think we ought to work from work. She said, my delivery drivers have been in the office before, during, and after COVID. Why are we so special that we can sit at home? Now, I would readily admit that there are certain niches that are different. So let's break up the workforce a little bit. If they're highly coders, to the extent that we still need coders, don't necessarily need to be in the office because they're interacting with a machine all day long. Accountants might not need to interact, although I maintain everyone has that physical need to communicate, no matter what your job is. But I would acknowledge there are certain jobs that are better suited for a remote environment than others. Consulting might be one of them. But the trends that we're seeing, first of all, there's some macro pressures on people. We've all seen layoffs and unemployment happen. Knowledge workers are very concerned about their jobs, and they should be. AI is out there. LLMs are happening. And companies are looking to cut costs. And if they can reduce and replace humans with machines, unfortunately, that's the reality. The net impact of that on people like you and me is office. People want to be seen in the office. They want to be seen by their boss. And it's like when we started our careers, we got ahead by turning on and turning off the lights. That mm-hmm. behavior is going to manifest more and more in 26. We're going to see more and more people returning. The second thing, though, is I tell employers that you have to earn the commute. What I mean by that is, even though I'm worried about my job, when I earn the commute, I'm overcoming the idea that the employee that formerly worked from home now has to pay for dry cleaning, put their kid in daycare, leave their dog, pay for gas, buy lunch, deal with traffic, and commute into the office. So I don't want, as an employer, to have people come in the office and talk on Teams meetings all day. So we are rethinking office spaces as convening, as meeting places. We're creating more soft seating, more meeting rooms. And here is a surprise, private offices are making a comeback. In 2019 and before, I heard real estate directors talk about density. They were very proud. I've got this many employees. I'm at only 125 square feet per person. We were stacking them like cordwood. And if we're honest, I think we were disrespectful to employees. We were trying to save costs. Now that has pivoted, and we're trying to give employees a better place to work and, to the extent that we can, private offices in which to conduct conversations just like this one. I'm in a private office right now for noise purposes.
Yeah. I have to earn my office soon. I won't be in my home office, but yeah, no, I do see the need for more spaces to convene. And then, yes, when you're asking someone to come in the office, that it's a heavy lift because, if you are just working from home, you don't have to give as much thought into what you're going to wear and what you're going to pack for the day and make that commute. And so it needs to be a, great experience. And And also that you're able to collaborate with the other people within the department that you're in. If you're the only person there and then someone else's office somewhere else and you're just teamsing all day, like you said, it doesn't feel like it has like a purpose. So,
Amy, on that point, I often tell real estate directors that my suggestion is to let the tenants lead. And what I mean by that is we see a lot of top-down mandates. Come back to the office 5 days a week. That's required. You make a really good point. If we have optionality of, say, 3 days a week, the people that lead departments need to say, okay, our days in are going to be Monday, Thursday, Friday, or whatever they are, because everybody needs to be in at the same time. It will kill morale if we have half the department in and half on teams. So I think that's a fine point. We all need to be in at the same time in a unit.
Yeah, I agree. And there's just incredible energy when you have that occurring for sure. So, and speaking of energy, CREi Summit, year after year after year, it keeps getting bigger and better. So those that don't know what it is, talk about why you decided to convene all these people together and what you see coming in the future for it.
Well, thank you. And first of all, I want to thank you for your leadership as a co-chair program. You've done a magnificent job, and you're part of the reason that it keeps getting better and better. So I so appreciate you. And this is going to be our 6th year next year of convening. Every chair has been a female, and I'm very proud of that. Well, the answer is we didn't really mean for this to happen. Just kind of, I didn't know what I was getting myself into. In the beginning of COVID, I was making, calls to people, and I began to realize that as I was talking to people, that how we market is going to change. Even in a post-COVID world, it has. And what I mean by that is the use of digital tools to communicate with people is going to be more and more important. And then as consumers, we're hit with really thousands of marketing messages a day. And so I was trying to figure out how to differentiate, how to get in front of people. And to further explain, in order to get hired in our business, there are 2 things. One is selling, which is speaking, listening with the intent to convince. And if you're a broker and you can't do that, you need to find another profession. But the second is a lot harder. That's marketing. And marketing is what they think about you before you walk in the room, your brand. And so we began to think deeply about people who were doing a good job of building a brand online. And we created the list, now 7 lists, to hold up as a source of truth of people you should try to emulate in your practice. And then Corey Davidson infamously tweeted one night on a Thursday, I'll never forget it, that it would be good if we could get together. And I thought about that, and the next day I rang up Jamie, our event planner, who has been with us the entire time, and we took a leap. I'd never been to Tahoe and wanted to go there, so I just signed up with the Ritz at the Lake Tahoe, put a substantial amount of money at risk, and held a meeting. And you were there. 109 people showed up, and I'm just so thankful for you and for all the others that showed up and for the trust they placed in us. And I'm very proud of how we've grown and the careers that we've impacted. And that's what this whole project is about. It's about not about money, but about having an impact in our industry.
Yeah, I mean, thinking of impact, right? Is there a moment at one of the summits that really made you stop and think like, wow, this is really making an impact? Do you have a moment like that sticks out to you?
I think in the very first one in Tahoe, I remember doing speed dating to develop relationships, and that was so fun, and people getting to meet each other. And I looked around the room and I realized, we're all brokers, we're all outgoing, we like to be together, and it was COVID. But I think that was a moment when I began to realize the power of this in-person meeting. And then I think other moments are hearing like your story of starting this podcast as a result of the first CREi Summit, watching you grow in your career, change to the Cushman Wakefield platform, and all the good things that are happening in your life. I'm just so proud of all you've accomplished since coming to the first CREi Summit.
It really did. It's interesting when you are being much more intentional about the brand that you're putting out there. Makes you think about more about who you are at your core, and making sure your message isn't muddled personally. It is interesting. You want your online persona and who you actually are. Of course there's some private information that you have,
Sure.
but you want that to meld. And so I think through really shoring up my marketing, understanding my brand better, and all of that it's just aided me personally, and being more purposeful about what I'm doing for me and my family. And I'll never forget a piece of advice that you have. And like, I think about it every day. It's like, the more successful that I am, the more that I'm able to kind of do for my community and my family. And so it was really, it's really wonderful. Like, and so next year I'm actually going to be bringing back a program called the Aspiring Entrepreneurs, and it's for fifth graders, and to take and
Nice.
expose them to local small businesses, and teach them more about entrepreneurship. I haven't done this in like 6 years, but
That's great.
I have like so much, my time is much more purposeful now, that I have
Mhm.
much more dedicated time with my clients, and, being much more productive there. But then now I'm able to also like do more in the community again, which is great, and be a great example to my children.
Well, I so agree. Your success does bless others. And, you think about just not your immediate family, not just your colleagues, but if you go buy new clothes, or you go to a dinner at a restaurant, or you buy a new car, other people are impacted when you have financial success. I think the other thing, I'm so glad you're doing that program for fifth graders. There's a concept that I think a lot about, because when we're successful, we have an obligation to pay it back. And I call that civic rent.
Hmm.
And just like you, I try to be very involved in the community. I just left a not-for-profit board meeting this morning. And, if you did the absolute math, we really should be in our office practicing real estate all day, every day. But there's more to life than that. And by the way, because of involvement in not-for-profits, I've met some great executives, and that's actually led to business. It's not the intent,
Right.
but it can be the outcome.
Yes. Yeah. I've had some wonderful people that I've met through my civic involvement, that have just led to some wonderful like transactions and experiences in those types of things. And it's really cool to see
Mhm.
that synergy. And that's something, I wrote the book, but the very first S in the sports success system is all about synergy. And it's the
Mhm.
people that you're around. And if you're around like-minded people on boards, or you're within a great organization, or you're going to summits like that, that's going to be just your energy source that's fueling you, and is going to definitely shape the mindset and the trajectory that your life is on.
Indeed.
It's awesome. So, where do you see the future of CREi with the list, the community, and the gatherings? Is there anything new that we can share?
Well, sure. So I'm very excited about Savannah in September of next year. I think it's going to be our largest gathering yet. It's a beautiful venue. The JW Marriott Plant Riverside is a historic renovation. It's just terrific. It's right on the river. And you're going to see a much bigger focus on one thing, of course, AI. But there's an asterisk. A lot of people, including myself, are using AI to eliminate low payback activities, note taking, right to speech, create the agenda. That's fine. That's well and good. But I'm really interested in trying to find how AI can help us accentuate high payback activities. So it will be different for real estate practitioners. If you're an investor, you've got a different profile than me. But in my world, trying to find people and calling them at the right time. So how can I use AI as a listening tool to gather enormous amounts of data to know when a company might need my services? And so I really want to explore that, and we will really try to help people amp up their business development in their local communities. The other thing is that we're going to try to shift from the idea of what I call tools to techniques. And here's what I mean. There are people, Topher Stevenson is marvelous. He is probably the leading thinker in our industry on AI, and he knows all the tools. He's really terrific. I'm not interested in understanding how the tools work. I want to know the techniques and how I can get results. So we want to try to create, and you and I and the team will have to work on this to create something where you can come in and the outcome is that you're going to have some techniques to amp up your business development and listening tools, but you don't necessarily have to understand how every switch or every toggle works.
Mm.
Maybe there's an expert. I'm reading, just finished a book called Who Not How, which is a great read by the guy who founded the Strategic Coach. And in the book, Dan says Americans ask the wrong question, and this applies to real estate too. When there's a business problem, they say, how can we solve the problem? He says the correct question is not how, but who. And so I want people that attend the summit to come away with an ecosystem of people that can help them use AI, that they don't have to understand how all the tools work. It's who, not how.
So I love that book. It's such a good book, and it's been a while since I've read it. And yeah, I mean, it is, at the end of the day, you have a gift for helping to guide executives and companies through these major, office space decisions, but like understanding how every single AI tool is not really necessarily possible. But if you understand, who can help you deploy those techniques or learn more about those techniques and not have to get down into the granular level and focus on what you do best, I think it's better for everybody.
Yeah, and I think the analogy, Amy, I would use is this. My wife and I purchased a new dining room table from a craftsman, actually in Savannah, not long ago. And it's great. We're very happy with it. But I don't, he knows how to use the saw and the hammer and the sandpaper and the paintbrush. I know what I want. I want a table. And so I want brokers to come in saying, I want a table, help me figure it out. And the last thing I'll share is that, we had a new thing this year called CREi Labs, which is sponsored by SIOR and SIOR Foundation. They loved it, and it's basically our version of an Apple Genius Bar. So we're going to make that bigger and better than ever. So you can come to this conference, make great relationships, amp up your business development, and get a customized plan for how you're going to use your tech stack to grow your business.
That was so fun to watch. Like every time I was coming in and out of the rooms and circulating to someone else to see all the people there, and being an SIOR, incredibly grateful for SIOR support of us. And I don't know if I shared this on the last podcast we were on or not, but me coming to the first CREi, I saw SIOR sponsoring, and I was like, I wonder if I qualify for that yet.
Awesome.
And I went back, and then in 2022, here I am. I was a SIOR. Terrific. So that their support also works to bring more into the fold. So
ding, ding, SIORs. I hope you're hearing this.
I hope so. Ding, ding, ding. So, which, it's been great. I've also, I just got another referral from SIOR last week, which was awesome. So
wonderful.
I'd like to say one of your superpowers is, community buildings. Like I'd love to talk a little bit more about what principles help you build and nurture relationships.
Sure. Well, appreciate the question. I think the first thing in building a relationship is it's better to be interested than interesting. And what I mean by that is being intellectually curious about other people and employing something I call the 70-30 principle. And that is, I've talked to my children about this a lot, is when you go to a business lunch or a business dinner, most of the focus as a person who's trying to develop business ought to be on the other person, asking them questions about their life outside of business, trying to really understand what motivates them, what their definition of success is. So it's not at all about sticks and bricks. It's about establishing a relationship. And we all know, if you think about it, that all of us, every human being on the planet Earth, thinks about themselves all day long. That's the topic. And so when you align with that, and most of the lunch is about themselves, they actually feel better, charged up coming out of the lunch. So sometimes salespeople think they need to do all the talking. No, they need to actively and tactically listen. Tactical listening means that instead of playing the tennis game in your head, the tennis game is while the other person's talking, you're thinking about what you're going to say back. is you try really hard to clear your mind and to listen intently to not only the verbal, but the nonverbal of what they're saying. And then when you leave the lunch, making sure that you dictate or write down or whatever your method of retaining the information is, everything you can remember about what they said. Because, in our probably 200 business relationships that we have at any one time, I can't remember that Johnny played third base instead of second base unless I write it down. But when I see the person the next time and I've reviewed my notes, they feel fantastic because you ask about Johnny on third base and you ask about specific things, projects that they shared with you. The reason there's a 30% is it's weird. First of all, if you don't talk about yourself, but second of all, they have to remember you.
Right.
So my advice to my children on this topic is to develop the 2-minute story. The quickest way to be boring is to tell someone everything. There's a book by Matthew Dix called Storyworthy. It's a terrific read. Matthew is an amazing human being who is actually a school teacher. And he talks about the art of storytelling. And what he says is find the penultimate moment of the story and begin the story as close to the end as possible. You can edit out characters that don't matter and just take this person on a narrative. So if I told you that I got up this morning and I brushed my teeth and fed my dog, and then I got in my car and I drove to the not-for-profit board meeting and I told you every step, you're quickly just going to glaze over. But I can edit out a lot of characters and things that don't matter. So if the point is in that 30%, you're trying to tell stories about your career, or your family that would be interesting to the other person. People are casually interested in your family, but when you show your vacation photos, you're a lot more interested than anyone else. Think of through that lens about your own life and what you're going to share with the other person. I think the last thing I would say about relationship development is in the business context, people are trying to qualify you. And so at that first lunch, they're trying to get a sense of who you are. We have thin slicing, so we know human beings make a decision within 5 to 15 seconds whether or not they're going to like someone. That's just reality. But here's what I think about a lot. Do you know what they call the person that graduates last in medical school?
No.
Doctor.
Oh, yeah. That's true.
Doctors. So the person that had the worst grades is still wearing a white coat today. And the way that applies to our industry is like this. The person who is the least capable is still called a tenant rep. And so what I'm trying to demonstrate is that we are highly capable, not by bragging, but by storytelling around problems that we solved and people that we've helped in the past, because people are qualifying you. And what they're really thinking about at the lunch, especially when they leave, is do I trust this person and can they help me solve my problem? And can they help me get bonused or promoted in my career? Will they keep me safe? That's what you're solving for.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. And being able to demonstrate that in a way that's not braggadocious. You're really good at what you're doing, but be able to share those stories. And then I like the idea of the 2-minute story. I recently read a book called Rich Relationships by Selena Sue. And she really talked about, as well, as if you're sharing a story, to be super vivid and evocative. Because a lot of people ask me specifically, when was that moment when you decided to make a change? And so I talk about that I was in Vermont and sitting on the front porch drinking coffee, and it was nice and cool outside. And I started to kind of visualize 2026. And, I'm not going to do the whole story here. We're about you, but I do think it's important that the information you're sharing is quality. Kind of that's I think what you're trying to convey as well.
Yeah, and I like the way you just shared that, because I can relate, because you told me the temperature, you told me you were drinking a hot coffee. We're human beings. We can all relate to those details. So that's really powerful to describe the environment that you were sitting in when something important in your life happens. So well done.
Yeah. But I love that 70-30 principle, and to be interested, not interesting.
Right.
And I just love how invested you are in other success. And I might as well ask you, what are you working on right now, that we can kind of look to come down the pike? And what are you most
Sure.
excited about building next?
Well, thank you. I'm really excited about a book. It's done. It is in the can. It's edited. It's formatted. It's been a labor of love. The audio book is being recorded right now. The workbook will be ready in a couple of weeks, and we've decided to release it after the holidays to not get caught up in the clutter. So look for more to come at the end of January. The book is called The Real Estate Prescription, How to Get Hired in Commercial Real Estate and Make Multi-million-dollar Deals. And it's directed at really principally two audiences. One would be college students who are thinking about real estate as a career. And then second would be, I would say, first third of their career, knowledge workers. And what I think about a good bit is this. There are knowledge workers who are very frustrated at the beginning of their careers. They want to control their own destiny. They want to be their own boss, and they want to make more money. And when you're at the beginning of your career, all of those things are difficult. You don't really control your time. And except for certain industries, it's hard to make a lot of money. And you're really pleasing your boss, which is a human being. And so it's not like you're, I guess the goal line can change with a boss, and that can be a very frustrating experience. So what the book talks about to solve for that is that there are three sections. The first describes our industry. A lot of people look at it from the perspective of residential real estate, and I respect our friends in Resi, but we're very different. Mm-hmm. The second is it talks, the second section, okay, now I want to get out from underneath this boss. I want to earn more money. How do I go from sitting on my couch watching Netflix to getting hired? So there's a whole process of how to establish, who you're going to call on, what to do when you're headed to the meeting, what to do in the meeting, what to do after the meeting. And then the third section talks about day one forward. And there's some, I hope, helpful advice about how to negotiate with a senior broker. There's for the first time that I'm aware of ever in print, discussions about what splits are with a house and how those are impacted. And then we've created some tools. There is a real estate prescription, which is really a to-do list for you as you move ahead in the career. And then there's a template for a business plan so that you can really maximize your earnings and grow quickly. So all of that is coming at the end of January, and I'm really excited about it. And it's, as we said earlier, it's very much about impact. And I'm hopeful that this book can impact some people and help change lives.
I can't wait to read it. I love to read, and I think it's any kind of career that's also going to help to transform someone's life. I think too in their career, you're going to feel the impact of that for years to come, which is a great gift from you.
Yes, well, thank you, and we're working on a website, therealestateprescription.org. It's not up yet, but you will be able to find the book. It will certainly make you aware in social media on all outlets, from Walmart to Barnes & Noble to Amazon, Audible, Goodreads, etc. It'll be everywhere.
Awesome. Well, I've really enjoyed our time today. Before we transition to some personal and rapid fire fun, okay, was there anything else you wanted to share?
Yeah, I would say there are, and I've shared this in social media, there are some concerning headlines today. Mm-hmm. There's some sort of disturbance in the force from a business perspective. There are layoffs. There's scary things that are happening. But I believe that we make our own luck. And so if you're listening to this and you're concerned about your career, your business, your real estate practice, I would just encourage you to play every down, to get in there, to work hard, to work on your prospect list. And the headlines are they don't make each of our markets. We do. So as a friend of mine said in the 2008 downturn, close the door and go to work. And by that, he meant pick up the phone and start prospecting, start reaching out to clients, start calling people, and be active. And so the biggest antidote to that worry, if you're laying in bed worrying about your income or your future, is the verb is to get active and get after it. And whatever that means for you, if that means working harder on a transaction or developing more business, you control the future, not the headlines.
Yeah. I think ultimately we are, even whatever's happening around us, it's what we do with what's happening around us that will have the biggest impact moving forward. Yeah. Oh, and then also I wanted to bring up too, you talked a little bit about offline about the art of asking someone for advice and that as a relationship building tool. Do you want to speak a little bit more about that?
I do. I'm in my 50s now, and for whatever we've been on this podcast, I've been giving advice. And what men I know in their 50s like to do is give advice. So what I tell people on my team, the young folks, is the best way to ingratiate yourself to someone is to authentically ask them for advice. And it might work something like this, Mr. So-and-so or Miss So-and-so, I can see you've been very successful in your career. You're a great leader. You've won these awards. Could we have coffee for just a few minutes, for 20 minutes? I'd just like to learn how your leadership has taken you to this level. How have you been successful? And what that does is it takes the shoe off the other foot. And instead of us trying to schlep real estate services, we're authentically interested in how this great leader became a great leader, and asking the questions and remembering what they say and trying to put the lessons to work. There's a lot more. I just love interacting with people. I love interacting with CEOs and hearing their strategic challenges, their leadership issues, and how they overcame them. And so if you'll flip the hat around and be curious, you'll have the output of good meetings, of good impact, of getting engaged. But people will like you if you just simply ask them good questions.
Yeah. I think that's one thing about my podcast is it's created more opportunity for me to ask better questions and be a better listener.
Doing a great job.
Yeah, which I think it's a good tool, and I think then again your book and so many other resources out there to keep working on it. And it's like a muscle. Like in sports, you don't start out overnight, being on the best sports team, but the more that you work on these different skills, the better you'll become. So just keep at it. All right. So here's some rapid fire questions. Well, I'll ask you my favorite first. If someone gave you $1 million and said you can't invest this in real estate, what are you going to do with it?
Well, first of all, I'd be disappointed because I love investing in real estate. And, like you and Beth and so many others, Moses, it's the greatest investment ever. But listen, what I would not do with $1 million is go buy consumer products, a new car, a new boat, a new whatever, because I can do math, and that's a curse a little bit. I can do the future value in my head to know in the rule of 72, which is you divide the interest rate that you think you can accomplish by 72, and that'll tell you when you can double your money. So doing the math, let's say if it's 9%, I think that's more or less, 7.5, 8 years. So I know $1 million, if I invested it wisely, could become $2 million. And so the answer pretty simply is I'd invest in equities. I am not, no disrespect to people that are Bitcoin folks, God bless you, go forth and make a lot of money. I'm an equities guy. That's what I do with it.
That's great. Tell me, do you have any recent proud dad moments?
Well, we had a wonderful Thanksgiving holiday, and it was very special. Karen and I have 4 wonderful kids, 2 boys and 2 girls. And the oldest boy is married, and we now have Finn, who is a 7-month-old boy, our grandson. And spending time with him is really exceptional. And I think a good bit about what Finn is going to experience in his life, because things are changing so rapidly now. What's life going to be like in 20 or 30 or 40 years that he'll get to see? But it was really fun to spend time together, and I'm proud of each of our kids. I could spend the rest of the podcast talking, but I know that I'm going to keep it short here. I think the other thing I would share that I'm proud of is my relationship with Karen. We're married 33 years now, and when the kids start to leave, you have to honor the dating brochure, and so we're getting into a fun part where we're able to travel and be together as a couple like we were before the children came into the marriage. So it's a fun part of life that I've talked about online. If you're in the thick of it with taking care of young kids, there's joy in that. And they're great when they're young, and the holidays are special and fun. But there's also joy at every stage, and Karen are having a great time.
That's awesome. I love seeing you two together, and it's awesome that she gets to go to the different CREis and different things and explore New York or wherever you guys go. I think it's I see that too in a lot of social media where I think a lot of times you don't enjoy the journey, but again, finding the joy in each part of your journey because it doesn't last. These different stages change and, life moves on. So,
yeah, I'll share one other quick thing with you. And that is, I'll ask people who are married with children, what's the best thing that ever happened to you? And a lot of times people will say, oh, the birth of my kid. And while that sounds innocent and that sounds good, I think it's really, really misguided. The best thing that ever happened to me was my wife.
Mm-hmm.
I told my children when they were growing up, listen, I married your mother. I didn't marry you, and you're a welcome addition to this relationship. But I am concerned about worshiping our children and forgetting our spouse. So Karen is number one. And I love those kids with all my heart. But I married my wife.
I love that. I love that advice. I've read a lot of different parenting books, and I think there's been a time in society where there was a much more like parent focused, and it's all about the parents and whatever the kids want to do, and just kind of let them be free range. And then we kind of went to this helicopter type of style, and we're like hovering over the kids and narrating their play, and then forgetting like our spouses. But perhaps, we keep our spouse like high up but then also just have more of like a family focused family. And that's kind of what I try to do is, my husband, is top of the list, but then my kids need to be independent and, it's interesting. So, yeah. Okay. My last question is, if you had to pick a restaurant in Atlanta, what's your favorite, or do you have one or two?
Well, you're hitting me without I hadn't pre-thought about that. There are a lot of great restaurants. I think, and I know a lot of chefs. So I don't.
You don't want to offend anybody.
Yeah, I don't want to offend anybody. I think Ford Fry is a chef here who has a great restaurant. One is called Super Rica. It's a fun little Mexican spot where it's a great family meal. For a steak place, Kevin Rathman has Rathman's on the Beltline, and you just can't go wrong there off Krog Street. Great food, and Kevin is just a wonderful human being, and he's. I've had dinner at Kevin's home. He can cook. It's incredible. So Kevin Rathman's would be a good spot to check out.
Awesome. Well, this has been fun, and I can't wait to see you. Hopefully, I think I'll see you in February. If not before.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
Yeah.
Ready to go. Amy, thank you. This has been wonderful. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, yes, it's been great. So I want to thank everybody for listening to another episode of the Performance Mindset Show. If today's episode gave you something to think about, be sure to follow and share it with someone else. You can find more insights, resources, and details about my book, From Perfect to Real, at amycalandrino.com. Until next time, keep investing in yourself, your business, and your mindset. This is Amy Calandrino signing off.